Sutra 1. Questions and Answers. Question 1. How is it that I hold on to a thought and things accordingly manifest in my life? Let us understand through an example. You may be aware that all streetlight poles are connected with each other through wires. Similarly, an individual is connected with everyone in the world through their thoughts. Every person can be thought of as a thought pole that transmits and receives thoughts. If a negative thought arises in one pole, what will happen? Let us assume that half the people in the world are negative thinkers and the rest are positive thinkers. As soon as you think a negative thought, you link up all the negative thinkers of the world. This means all the negative energy as well as the negative elements of the world begin to move towards you. If you stop your negative thinking, then they stop approaching. But if you continue to entertain the same negative thoughts for years on end, then all the negative energies and elements from all corners of the earth will reach you and destroy your life. On the other hand, if you harbor happy thoughts, you link up all the positive thinkers across the world. Therefore, all the positive energies and positive elements of the world reach you and endow you with health and prosperity. You need to remember that the channels through which you give negative or positive energies are the same channels from which you receive. This means that your thoughts transmit to everyone in the world and everyone else's thoughts transmit to you, because everyone is connected with each other. Hence, you must always harbor happy thoughts and attract positive energies to your life. From the analogy above, understand what a disastrous effect negative thinking has on your life. Since man is unable to see this process, he feels it is all right to entertain negative thoughts once in a while. But now that you are able to see their effects, you will never again entertain a single negative thought. Man gets entangled in negative thoughts and invites suffering on a global scale due to his ignorance of the thought rules and a lack of control over his thoughts. He does not have the slightest clue that the primary cause of his suffering is his own thoughts. More often, he believes others to be the cause and blames them. But when his mind receives adequate training, the secret will unfold before him that the cause of his suffering is his own thoughts. Those who realize the importance of training their mind take on the training required for their mind and through their thoughts better themselves and the world, while those who do not realize the significance of this training run away from it by offering excuses. Question 2. How to train our mind? To train your mind, you must change its sick programming. Sick is an acronym to signify sorrow born out of ignorance during childhood due to crazy beliefs. It is crazy with a capital K to denote big, baseless assumptions. All the programming of your mind has taken place during childhood, in ignorance, by being habituated to the feeling of sorrow arising from crazy, baseless assumptions that were drawn without understanding the full picture of life. What kind of programming can take place in such a state? The wrong kind. What mental structure has taken shape within you? The wrong kind. The first time your mind saw your body being injured, or crying, or being abused, or slapped as a child, you did not know how to look at this event. You witnessed that scene in ignorance and sorrow, and made crazy and baseless conclusions about life. Then you carried this understanding throughout your life, and not once it may have occurred to you to change your thoughts. Maybe these assumptions or beliefs were required in childhood for whatever reason, but they are no longer required. You have probably not considered changing your thoughts since you are not trained to do so. But now that you are an adult, you are gaining the knowledge to alter the very manner in which your mind processes information. You will be able to rewrite the old records of sick programming with good programming, and then move further to God, divine programming. You will become a stronger, happier, and a more positive individual with a constructive influence on the world. The way your mind saw a given event for the first time is the way it sees similar events even today, regardless of whether or not you realize it. If today somebody speaks to you of abusing or slapping someone, your mind starts to re-envision the same misery it experienced before when someone abused or slapped you. Whatever you experience from morning to night, it is your mental programming that directs you. If during your childhood your mind developed the association that if you sweat, it means you are tired, then that is precisely what it will tell you now. Automatically, without consulting you, your mind passes the order along to your body that you are tired, and a wave of fatigue passes through you so that you actually feel tired, regardless of the reason for your having sweated. In this manner, countless associations have been made, but you need to change this programming and develop new ones. Question 3. How does the mind get programmed in the first place? When a thought is repeated again and again, it seeps in and settles in your subconscious mind. This is the process of programming the mind. Programming can be either positive or negative. For example, if you always think there is an abundance of wealth, then you are much less likely to experience a lack of money in your life. If you repeatedly think, I have great self-confidence, then all your life's work will reflect that confidence. This is positive programming. We are continuously programming our mind right from childhood. A child does not know what is right or wrong. But whenever he is given a thought, he imbibes it. This is how his mind gets programmed. A mother tells her child, "Son, we are going to have some guests in our house this evening." Sure enough, the child sees guests arrive in the evening. One day, she tells him, "It is going to rain today," and he sees it rain that day. Since the child is naive, he does not realize that his mother had called all the guests over or that she had heard the news and had predicted the rain. The child feels that whatever his mother says is always right. Then one day, she tells him, "You are good for nothing." He feels she is right, and that thought goes deep into his mind. And with time, it eventually settles or gets imprinted there. In this manner, his mind is negatively programmed, and as a result, even upon growing up, he cannot perform any task with efficiency. Sick programming of a child's mind takes place through parents, teachers, friends, advertisements, priests, and politicians. If the teacher repeatedly tells the child that he is weak in maths or is always ill, then his subconscious mind accepts it to be true. This is how the mind gets programmed from childhood, and the individual functions according to this programming throughout life. Due to this programming, erroneous tendencies and patterns begin to develop, and situations begin to occur repeatedly. For instance, some people have a late pattern. Even when they want to reach a given place on time, even when they start out early, their programming of always being late has become so strong that they are unable to reach anywhere on time. They are late every time and repeat this pattern all their life. These wrong thinking patterns make our body susceptible to various diseases too, called psychosomatic disorders, where 90% of the disease is due to the mind's effect on the body. Question 4. Can you further explain what psychosomatic disorders are? They are physical diseases that are caused or made worse by mental factors. Many doctors believe that illness like ulcers, irritable bowel syndrome, asthma, eczema, psoriasis, high blood pressure, and heart attacks are strongly influenced by psychological factors. Besides doctors, scientists too have begun to give credence to the importance of thought rules. And some scientists predict that there will be devices to help us discover and harness these laws of creation. Question 5. Speaking of science, is there any scientific evidence that things get created from our thoughts? The best would be to contemplate in your own life and see how you first harbored a thought and then it manifested into reality. Experiment with the Sutra so that your conviction grows. However, since you asked about scientific evidence, let us understand this more with some lessons from quantum physics. Quantum physics is that branch of science that deals with the energy the universe is made up of. The universe is made up of atoms, and every atom is made up of subatomic particles of protons and neutrons, while electrons orbit around the center. One of the most compelling discoveries of quantum physics was that subatomic particles can behave like a wave. Think on the implications of such a thing. Subatomic particles, electrons, are constantly teleporting around an atom, never being in one place at a time. In reality, they move through every possible path to their new destination in a manner similar to that of a wave. What quantum physics discovered was that when firing electrons through two slits, it produced a pattern of lights and dark areas on the target surface, not simply two highlighted areas, but a striated pattern. With only one slit, there was a simple and even distribution. But with two, the electron waves interfered with one another to cancel each other out in some places, and thus generate a pattern of lines. They tried shooting one electron at a time, expecting each electron to pick a slit and once again produce an even distribution. But what they discovered was that they still interfered with one another. This means that each individual electron was moving through both slits at the same time, just like a wave. Things get even more interesting when scientists try to observe this process, because the act of seeing the electron forced it choose a specific slit and therefore not cause interference to the others. The act of watching an electron forces it to move like a particle and not a wave. So what does that mean for us? When you consider that our entire world is made up of electrons and other small particles, the implications are enormous. An observer actually modifies objective events on a subatomic level. Our act of observation, thought and emotion affect the world. When scientists made an attempt to watch an electron and decide where it would go, they found that wherever the observer anticipated it would show up is where it would show up. But simply, scientists conducting these experiments discovered that the results were always affected by their own thoughts. things are first created in the mental plane. These experiments categorically prove that the essential substance from which the universe is made responds to our thoughts.